We open with an unhappy village song, a fun, upbeat 60s surf rock number filled with witty lines and clever jokes from the point of view of all the women who are turning Johnny down. Hard cut to Johnny saying, that's how you get the ladies, boys. And who is he talking to? The students of his dating course. Now, his advice is so laughably bad that no one would be able to take this seriously. No one would take this advice, much less pay for his advice. But he has somehow amassed a small cult of misogynistic fanboys, because he validates what they're already thinking. And this class is presented as a musical number, sung by Johnny and the Bravos. Johnny announces that tonight they're doing a field trip. They're going to practice their skills on actual women, and they all go to a bar. Johnny demonstrates first and promptly gets a drink splashed in his face. And he turns to the Bravos and sings, that's how you get the ladies! And the Bravos all join in on a song where they all fail to pick up women, because most of the Bravos are 100% into this. Most. Back at his place, well, rather his mom's house, Johnny looks in the mirror, and he sings an I Want song. And what he wants is to get a woman in bed. This is Johnny freaking Bravo we're talking about. But the bridge turns softer as Johnny wonders if maybe, just maybe, what he actually wants, what he really wants, is to feel vulnerable with somebody, and accepted in his vulnerability. And then he turns to the audience and says, nah, and then keeps singing the song! The next class, one of the Bravos announces that he is leaving the group. He sings this whole musical number about how Johnny's methods don't actually work, and how he's going to start working with his different dating coach named Rhonda. Now, Johnny gets the rest of the Bravos to stay with him, but he goes home, or rather to his mom's house, visibly shaken. He looks in the mirror and sings this poignant song about how he's doubting everything he's ever known and everything he's ever been. Could it be? Maybe being a misogynistic womanizer doesn't actually get women to like you? Whoa! Seeking comfort and confirmation, Johnny does what he always does, and goes to hit on women. But his heart isn't entirely into it. But the woman that he's hitting on, for once, actually seems kind of into this. Partly out of pity, but partly because she can see this vulnerability to him, and she can see that he's growing and unlearning toxic masculinity. And at the end of this fun duet that they have together, Johnny finally asks her name. And exactly like you expected, her name is Rhonda. Johnny asks Rhonda on a date, and Rhonda politely declines, but does offer to be his dating coach. And Johnny's kind of thinking, close enough. Through a series of catchy songs and funny failures, Rhonda teaches Johnny how to actually be attractive to women. Things like emotional intelligence, unlearning toxic masculinity and misogyny, and taking care of yourself. Johnny sings a song to the Bravos about how he is quitting his job. Besides, he was never that good of a dating coach anyway. He gets a new job, moves into his own place, and in a fun, catchy duet, he gets a woman to sleep with him. And obviously you do this in a child-appropriate way, but in a way that is funnier because it is child-appropriate. But in the process of all this growth, Johnny's kind of lost himself. Not just because misogyny is a defining characteristic of his, but because he's lost the other parts too. He's stopped thinking of himself as cool. He's stopped doing the 50s Elvis greaser thing. He's stopped wearing sunglasses and checking himself out in the mirror. And so the morning after, Johnny looks at himself in the mirror. Really looks at himself. And he realizes that he doesn't actually like who he's become. Sure, women like who he's become, and he is emotionally vulnerable enough to realize what he doesn't like, and that is that he's lost the good parts of himself. And this poignant musical number turns out to be the intro to a big song in the vein of Santa Fe or Defying Gravity, about Johnny deciding he is going to find himself again, he is going to get his mojo back. Meanwhile, the Bravos are still together, but without their leader, they are somehow even worse than before. And in the closest thing the show has to a villain song, they go out on the town and are absolute misogynistic assholes to every woman they try to pick up. The women in the town decide to, how do I say this, unionize against the Bravos in a number that's kind of, think Kill the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. And they decide to put an end to the Bravos once and for all, and put an end to Johnny Bravo once and for all. Note, this is the only moment of genuine feminine rage in the entire show. Everything else is silly and goofy and funny, and we are laughing at toxic masculinity to make it seem less appealing. Johnny calls up Rhonda and asks her to come over for a makeover montage. Now, Rhonda is busy with her girlfriends and Johnny respects that, so he just decides to do it by himself. And he has a musical number trying out all these different styles of what to wear and who to be. A cowboy outfit, a James Bond tuxedo, a spaceman suit, and the audience has at least one moment of wondering, wait, how did you even... Why is that in your closet? But in the end, the outfit he likes most and what feels most like him is a black shirt and blue jeans and sunglasses and hair slicked up. The doorbell rings. It's Rhonda, explaining, I just finished with my girlfriends, I came as soon as I could, Johnny, I have bad news. And she sees Johnny, dressed in what she thinks is his old self. And she lets out all this pent-up stress and rage in this angry musical number about, when it was just you, at least everyone was safe. All they had to do was splash a drink in your face and this pest would go away. But now there's an entire horde of you but worse, and they're hurting the women of this town. Actually hurting them. And the women of this town are going to hurt them back, and you've torn this town apart. Bravo, Johnny! Are you proud of yourself? Johnny is shocked, flabbergasted. He genuinely never realized the harm he was doing. And he sings a brief musical number about how he's not proud of who he was. But he's going to make himself proud of who he is. He is going to fix this. The Bravos and the women each approach the bar, and they sing this song about how they are going to get in a fight. And this fight starts with a big, catchy musical number. This feels like the fight during I'm Just Ken from Barbie. And then a surf rock riff starts, and Johnny freaking Bravo comes out as his best, fullest self. Johnny and Rhonda stop the fight. Rhonda gives the women a way to feel safe, maybe by moving the two groups to a different location, and Johnny gives the Bravos an opportunity to feel emotionally vulnerable, and to feel accepted in that vulnerability. And in a moment that is frankly a little simplistic and a little compressed for time, but is still a useful model, the Bravos unlearn their toxic masculinity. Realizing that now they actually have some common ground, Rhonda asks Johnny on a date. But Johnny declines, first because he doesn't see her as a prize to be won anymore, and second, more importantly, because he already has a hot date tonight. With himself. And this is a cartoon date. He's at a restaurant, having a conversation with himself, jumping back and forth between different sides of the table. And this finale-style duet with himself basically boils down to, I look good. But this time, it's not as an act of narcissism. It's a genuine appreciation of himself, saying, I like who I am. I have unlearned the stuff that I don't like, and I've got the stuff back that I do like. And he feels vulnerable with himself, and accepted in that vulnerability, because he accepts himself. And the show ends with Johnny asking Rhonda on a date. Because why not? Follow for more film talk.